Welcome to WKRP Montrose, a radio station masquerading as a podcast about Montrose, Colorado, and the Western Slope.
All right, Rob. You know what? Before we, all right, hold on a second. WKRP Montrose, you guys sit in here real quick while I get after this guy on the other side of the desk. You know, here's my irritation with you. Number one, what is this you're wearing? We have a Thursday night football thing going on this week.
You just reminded me of a question I have for our guest, too.
Well, we'll get to the guest in just a second.
This is a training shirt for the Welsh football team.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
that's
so
the answer to your question.
Your trainer?
Is that what it's? Are you on the?
Oh, he's so see. There's a voice coming in from off camera.
Yeah,
he doesn't realize we haven't put him on camera yet.
No, you can put it on because I've got a feeling the comment is related to my shirt. Or
okay, so everybody out there in the audience, welcome back, Mr. Bill Bell, city manager. Bill, did you have something that you wanted to add to that conversation?
Well, I just you mentioned it's a training shirt for the Welsh football team.
Mm-hmm.
Are you on the Welsh football team?
No.
Oh, no. He's not.
This is not how this goes either.
Yeah, no, it is.
I don't get heckled from the couch.
It just happened.
Well, let me just.
Do you have your name on the back too?
That's not how this works.
Oh,
okay.
I feel like it is. Okay, for those of you, I'm not normally the aggressor in the show. But pre-show,
you're not smart enough to be the aggressor regularly.
Bill sat down and he asked, hey, listen, last time I feel like you could have made me look better. The camera angle, give me some, touch-up shots here. Was that not true? You were kind of, you were a little concerned.
You made me look like an Oompa Loompa, is what I said. It's a very large couch and my feet are dangling because I have short little legs.
Well, and what's funny is nobody on Facebook said that, and what I mean by that is sometimes Facebook can be a bit of a cesspit of, people.
Did you mean to say cesspool?
No.
And you said cesspit?
I said pit. Yeah. Of people who don't say very nice things.
Yeah.
It was my own son who told me that. Yeah. Family members.
I'm surprised somebody didn't say that because, people tend not to say nice things very often.
Of all the things they were ready to pick on him about, that wasn't it.
Yeah, you really didn't get picked on.
We have
after the fact.
We have civility here in Montrose. It's not
some.
Okay.
No.
Well, Bill. Thank you very much for coming back. So much so, the first episode was like one of the most viewed episodes that we've had on WKRP.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think it was because number one, the audience, you guys got to participate. Don't forget, you can always go to 970-316-3162. You can go to WKRPmontrose.com and sign up. If you haven't, you probably would know about the Thursday night football watch party that we're going to have.
Tonight, which will be last week by the time you watch
By the time they see this. Yeah,
never mind.
You missed out on it. But that's why you should go to WKRPmontrose.com.
And sign up so you don't miss this kind of thing in the future.
That's right. Mm-hmm. And also, I'll be giving out Rob's personal email address later on in the show so you guys can message him as well. But hey, listen, it was so good. Not only are you back, but we're going to have you back again. Is that...
That's the plan, yeah.
Okay.
I want to come back on a regular basis and answer whatever questions people might have and talk about stuff related to community.
And that's why it's important for people to give us questions because if they don't, then city
it's
manager,
up to you and me.
Well, yeah, but also the city manager gets to talk about what he wants.
Yeah, you guys don't want to hear him dribble on about all the interesting things he thinks about municipalities and what they should be doing, do you?
No, we want questions from people to get the answers that the community want. And if you don't, then we don't have the questions and Bill gets to say whatever he likes.
Okay.
So it's up to you.
So there's the challenge. Either it's Bill's time or your time.
Yep.
So you decide which one you want to watch. Bill,
I have a question first before we start.
Yeah.
You told me, and I think we were meant to discuss this the last episode, but Bill you have some kind of connection to Wales in some capacity, or you visited or studied there or something like this, or did Dennis make the whole thing up?
I mean, I might have.
I was in Wales. I studied part of my law school for Pepperdine was in London, and we went on a trip to Wales.
You went to it. You had some extracurricular activities in Wales.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that. So, what's up with the discotheques in Wales?
Rob.
Because they seem to ship in girls dressed in black from around the country to a discotheque where there's older gentlemen there. And we kind of hung out there and we slept there in a hostel one night. But know anything about that?
I've never seen you blush before, but I'm pretty sure you're blushing.
I don't know what kind of discotheque you went to.
Yeah.
I've never been to a discotheque like that in Wales.
Can you lean in?
Where was it? Do you remember?
This was about 20 years ago.
Whereabouts? Do you remember the name of the town? Or?
No, the only town I remember was Hay-on-Wye.
Okay.
And there's outdoor bookstores and those kind of things.
Hay-on-Wye is a little fancy, big book festival. But you know what? I will put that question to my network and figure out
Find out
what's going on with clearly the trafficking thing that you're talking about, because that sounds...
Well, what it sounds like to me is that there weren't the ratio of men to women in your town.
That was not. It was. I doubt it was my town because nobody goes there.
Why don't they go there?
There's nothing to it.
Okay.
No.
I wish you guys. We don't have a good enough camera angle. If we could have zoomed in, Rob's face was getting as red as his trainer that he's wearing.
Just call it.
Which would have been. I mean,
just call it a shit.
But you called it a trainer.
All right.
Let's get to the
We're going to get enough complaints already for this nonsense.
I do want to say Wales was a beautiful country.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Oh.
Horseback riding, it was really nice.
There you go. What now?
Okay.
Exactly. He's not wrong.
All right. So today we have follow-up questions from the last time. We have questions that we didn't get to, and then we have some more directed questions. And then we have some questions about some stuff that you guys have posted.
Oh, great.
So we'll get started. Would you like to have your moment in the sun, Rob?
Yeah,
Do you want to ask some questions?
Okay, so taxes. Obviously, there's plenty of signs around Montrose I've seen that just say no new taxes, which is, it doesn't mean anything. Right. But anyway,
he's making
taxes are on people's minds. Obviously, the school is a big one around here. They are on people's minds. So first of all, are the city assisting the school district in any way with the new school in terms of taxation? Or
no, it's a school initiative. I think it's ballot 5A or something like that. And it's a property tax initiative. So if they wanted to run like the recreation district did to build the rec center, that was a pass-through the city collects as a sales tax, and then we distribute that money to the rec district. But in this case, it's a property tax. We don't have a property tax at the city, so they're on their own on that.
Could the school district have requested that some funds come from like sales tax then, and they did not? They chose not to do that.
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not an expert in the school district or how the schools are set up in Colorado.
Right.
But if they're the same as any other special districts, then they would have the right to do both.
Okay.
Does that include, so there's another initiative on the ballot for a lodging tax. Is that correct?
2A. Is that right?
I think I mentioned it last time.
You did
briefly,
mention it,
yeah.
And would that be something that they could submit for? I guess is the way you're saying it. Or did I just miss that?
Or is it too late? Is it after the fact now?
Yeah. You mean for some of the lodging tax to go toward the school?
Yeah.
It's too late now because it's already been set on the ballot. But if we would have had conversations a year ago or something, the city council can decide when they're setting the ballot initiative to put in any expenditure of funds that they want. Right. And so, sure, we could have allocated a portion of that to go towards schools or whatever we want. Yeah.
But I recall you saying that currently the tax is 0.9%.
It's 0.9% lodging tax right now.
Lodging tax.
It's on the ballot for 6%.
Right. And if it makes it, it's only going to generate, did you say like a $1.5 million?
Yeah, Tabor, the taxpayer bill of rights, you have to, the first year the new tax would be collected, you have to estimate what the maximum collection is going to be.
Right.
And so just using our educated guess based on the prior years, we don't think it's going to go over 1.5 million in the first year.
Right.
If it does, we'll have to do a Tabor refund.
Okay.
I don't know how exactly, and others around the state don't know how you find tourists to give them back their money.
Right.
But it's in Tabor.
Right.
We tried to err on the conservative side. We don't think it's going to hit that 1.5.
Right.
Right now we get a little over 200,000 per year through the lodging tax. So
Right.
It would have to go up 5 or 6 times in order
Right.
to,
And that's a drop in the ocean compared to what the school district need anyway.
Right.
It's negligible.
Right.
Yeah, even if you put our entire amount, it wouldn't be good for them. So we're, as we talked about last time, it's broken down all the ballots that went out. People can see exactly how it's earmarked to be spent.
And if you guys are out there watching this episode, it's probably going to come out after the episode with the school district. So there's a lot of information in there. You guys should go back and watch it if you haven't seen it. That brings us to a question then. With the new, if that bill passes for the lodging tax increase, number one, where would that put us in like other regions, tourist regions, areas around here as far as like what they collect in lodging tax? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, we studied the issue, and out of all the statewide surveys that we did with the other agencies that collect lodging tax, the statewide average is 6.7%. So we wanted to be just under the average at 6%. And right now we're the lowest in the entire state at 0.9. And usually when you travel across country, it's double digits when you go.
So the one of the questions that came out is, I don't know that it was directly attached to this conversation, but it feels like it's relevant to ask it kind of right after. What are the top 3 anticipated expenditures that the city's going to use their tax base to like focus on in the coming years?
Our overall tax base?
Yeah.
Shifting gears from the lodging tax now.
I mean, you could talk about the lodging tax and then overall too. They didn't really specify on here, so
probably in general.
Yeah. They did say during this time period, so maybe they meant, whatever the next however many 5 years, or maybe they were referring to that, but they didn't say specifically.
Sure. We're pretty stable as far as what we spend our money on. So you can look at any of our annual budgets. They're very similar. They just get a little bigger as things cost more or we expand the projects. But we're about 87%, 88% sales tax driven because we don't have a property tax, and the remainders from grant funds or fees, those kinds of things. The state gives us highway allocation money to help with the roads, for instance. So out of that money that we generate from taxes, the biggest chunk goes to law enforcement, to our public safety. 43% of the money generated from general goes into the police department. And then we also put a lot of money into road street maintenance and street improvements and building new streets to try to reduce traffic congestion and then just catch up with all the deferred maintenance. Doing a good job on that. Our engineering team and our public works are doing a great job on that. Our sweet spot is about $5 to $6 million in street maintenance every year. And then once you get down after police and streets, then probably the rest of public works, parks and trails and some of those types of things, playgrounds. And then you get to your normal general administration, finance, HR, all the rest of just running a municipality. We're a little over 200 full-time employees, another 80 to 90 seasonals, and a little over $100 million budget. So we're a municipal corporation, so you have an admin that goes with that. So then we also have separate pots of money, water fund, sewer fund, wastewater treatment plants included in sewer fund, and trash and recycling. And so those are user-based. If you use those, you pay a fee based on the amount you use, kind of thing. Right.
So the $100 million that's what is brought in with sales tax?
No. This year, this 25 budget, we have our budget open house tonight at 5 p.m. And I think it's around 117. I don't want to misquote that exactly. Shani, our finance director, knows that right off the top of her head, but it's about 117 million. That includes general fund, the public safety fund, the water, sewer, all of our funds combined.
Okay. I'm pretty sure people are going to have follow-up questions, and the one is going to be 43% for law enforcement or public safety, right? Sounds like a lot. Can you, I'm not necessarily going to say justify it, but give us an idea of what that money is spent on.
Well, it's mandated to be no less than 43%. When we did the public
mandated
safety,
by who?
By the voters when we did the money to build the police department.
Okay.
And to the new police department, and to add more law enforcement because we wanted to be a little harsher on crime, drug houses, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
We asked the voters, it was a 2A initiative back then as well, and they approved it by a narrow margin, but it was approved, thankfully, and we were able to add more law enforcement, increase pay, buy proper equipment, and build the new facility. In there, we promised the voters no less than 43% of general fund operation monies will continue to go every year to the police, because we didn't want anybody, and it was really the people in the community didn't want us to take new money that was generated by an increased tax and just put that back into our general fund over here and use it for other things. So it's over and above what we were already spending. And so we have to put in 43%.
Okay. Do the police department, I mean, this will be a question for Chief Blaine Hall when he comes on.
You're going to wait and ask him then?
No, I'm just curious. I mean, do they have a surplus?
You're supposed to leave a teaser there for people to come back and watch more.
All right, come back and watch that one, and we'll ask.
We don't have much of a surplus because we're still in hiring mode and trying to be fully staffed and keep up with everything.
Okay.
So you're still not. Those would be great questions to ask Blaine when he comes on.
Yeah.
There was another question. What strategies is the city implementing to attract new businesses and industries into the area?
So we're jumping around a bit today, but we're just going through a list of questions.
Yeah.
So business attraction, we really haven't focused a lot on business attraction as a city. I started here a little over 13 years ago, and it was the recession back then, so we were just trying to maintain what we had, do a lot of investment to keep our local contractors here doing public infrastructure. But over time, traditionally MEDC, the Montrose Economic Development Corporation, has done business attraction. Primary jobs and manufacturing is really their bailiwick. And the city back then, we did a little bit of attraction for small businesses, trying to make sure our downtown was vibrant and a place that small businesses wanted to be. But where we really have had the most attraction, it's been through Colorado Outdoors, and it's been the private side of that development with the Dragoos. They do their own recruitment.
Right.
So they go out and they try to sell Montrose to other businesses that are like-minded and would fit well out there. And then when they get here, we talk to them. So we haven't gone out to actually recruit. We haven't needed to.
Right.
Montrose is a very attractive place for businesses already, and our regulations are really low. We don't have a lot of fees, and we don't have business permits. We try to reduce the bureaucracy here in Montrose.
And you mentioned in the last episode about that relationship with Colorado Outdoors and how the city contributes a small amount to infrastructure, and Colorado Outdoors more than match that, or the businesses that come in more than, I mean, it's not matched, is it? They multiplied many times, but so people can go back and watch that
episode and
that relationship.
These shows will be chaptered so that you guys don't have to go through all the things that maybe don't pertain to you. You'll be able to jump to the specific answers. I have a
follow-up question about small business, especially on Main Street. I love our Main Street, like especially the first couple of blocks there. But for a long time now, I feel like there have been several empty stores. And I would love to see things in there, but without knowing, how it all works, is there something the city can do or is doing to encourage either businesses to go in there or the property owners to, I don't know, reduce the rent? Or is there a reason that those places are empty and,
So compared to a lot of communities, we don't have very many empty storefronts on Main Street, thankfully. But the ones we did have, we've tried to, like Wells Fargo is a good example. Mm-hmm. They abandoned their building. It was going to sit there forever because there's a non-compete clause. No other bank can go in. Well, it has 4 safes in it. It's built as a bank.
Right.
So we came in as a city and bought it and converting it to City Hall to try to keep a huge empty building off of Main Street.
Right.
And then a few of the others we've worked with through the DART program to try to incentivize building owners to update those old buildings. So a lot of them are sitting empty because the cost of updating those, especially if they have upstairs residential, they have to bring it up to new fire code standards. They have to just fix up the building. We helped with the Vine Bistro building, and there's the apartments up top. It's a really nice historic building.
Yeah.
So we'll come in and try to reduce the risk and the cost for those building owners, but they have to ask.
Right.
So all the programs are sitting there, and we'd love to hear from anybody who has an empty building on what they want to do with it and how we can help.
I think that's an important point, right? Yeah. I know where you're going with this. You want to do your thing?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to open a can of worms, but I'm going to because I want to try. There were a lot of people. Me personally, I was really impressed with those units above the Vine, which you're talking about, which is now Ray's Cafe on Main Street.
Ray's Corner Cafe.
Ray's Corner Cafe. Sorry, Ray Blanchard. You can thank Rob later for correcting me. There were units upstairs there at the time before those improvements happened. They were like residential units.
Is that your phone or something?
That is my phone. I don't know how to disconnect it, but I have a call coming in and it's muted, so I'm not really sure why that came up. But anyway, when those units got improved, people were irritated that the rent levels at those units were too high. But that's not necessarily something that the city regulates. Well, even though they contributed to whatever. Well, tell us about what ways, I think you just did, what ways you guys helped contribute to that building. But, people were upset and I think they just didn't understand the math behind it.
We actually, we're not a city that does a lot of rent capping, but we actually had an agreement, and for so many years, the rent was capped on that particular project. So there was a maximum amount of rent that they could charge, which was based on the state affordability numbers. And so at the time, it sounded kind of expensive. I don't remember what it was. Maybe it was $1,400 a month or something like that. Well, that's a great deal, right?
Right.
You can get a 1-bedroom or a studio apartment
on Main Street.
So it's been completely remodeled and improved and updated and everything. Yeah, they're really nice.
I thought you were going to go down the path of, you got to ask the right questions.
Well, you do.
You have to ask questions. I mean, the city, and I think it's fair, are not going to walk around town saying, "Hey, we want to do all these things." It's a case of sometimes you have to make inquiries. Like, I have this issue. Can you help with this?
And utilize our website. That's where we really have everything that's accessible to everyone. They can go on there and check.
But I think in the case of that particular project, one of the things I was bringing up, and you just touched on it at the very end there, is I think people thought, oh, these improvements will happen and the rent cost will stay the same, because maybe the people that were renting there before or in something similar downtown, let's say they were $700-800 for a unit that might be similar. But again, to have investment put into the building and to do the improvements, there has to be some incentive for them to be able to do that. So rent did go up, like you said. Now, just 4 or 5 years. When did that get done?
It feels like 8 years ago.
It wasn't that long ago?
Yeah. Well, COVID was what, almost 5 years ago now, 4.5. So it was well before COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, most people won't know the Vine. I mean, a lot of people won't know the Vine. A lot of new people to town. It was a great little place that, was on the corner there. But
yeah, there's a little bookshop, Maggie Books next door. It used to be the Main Street Ice Cream Parlor, and it used to be, was a Great Harvest prior to that or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think keeping going down, I guess, that road, if we want to talk about, well, there was another question that kind of brings us back to roads.
I just moved a question in the list that we're both looking at.
Okay.
I moved one to the end because I wanted to focus on. So we are going to come back to roads again, roundabouts specifically.
Yeah.
Well, this is you put this question in.
And you moved it up?
Yeah, it's right there. It's the next one now. Roundabouts again.
Oh, well, no. Since we were talking about Main Street, I will say this one. You guys just posted that the old CDOT signs, since you were talking about the Wells Fargo building, they're gone.
They're gone, yeah.
And
our banner poles were installed too.
Okay, so where the banner locations were before, are we going to have 2 banners now, or is that just a better banner location? And are there, talk about the signs and things that are going to go there?
Sure, we're going to go back to having 2 banner locations, which is how a lot of the nonprofits advertise their fundraising events and stuff. And so very popular, so we wanted to put that back in. The previous poles were unsafe, and so we had to replace those. And then getting rid of the big, ugly highway signs.
The green signs.
It's a great improvement.
Highway 50.
I just drove by there, and it looks really good now. It doesn't block the view of the buildings or the streetscape. And thankfully, CDOT agreed to let us take those out of there.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's it's important to talk about the little things too, which it may, a lot of people might say, well, there's essential things and there's non-essential things, but beautifying Main Street is important. I think it's the kind of the core of downtown Montrose. So.
Well, so following down along those lines, then, the banners that you're talking about up there are ways for us to promote the events and things that are coming into the area. We asked an event promoter that's in the region, I think we talked about this last episode a little bit, like the types of acts and things that we could get for the amphitheater and for other things that are going on. Why aren't more people bringing events? We talked about the barbecue fest, I think, last time a little bit while you were here. Why aren't more people doing that? And one of the feedback and the question that they asked us to ask was a special event permit must be submitted 60 days prior to an event. And for medium and small events, this seems prohibitive. Why can't it be like 30 days? Why can't it be a shorter period of time? Because to give an example, if somebody wanted to do a New Year's Eve party or a New Year's Eve bash, and that means it's got to be submitted by September, behind us. And you've got to have all the event details. From their perspective, it was like, you've got to have all the event details submitted. You've got to have the location locked down and everything else 60 days prior. And that for a medium to smaller events is going to be really difficult.
Yeah, that's our preferred, but we're always bending the rules on those for the smaller entities that are just getting started, or it's their first time, or they need some guidance from Lisa Del Piccolo, our city clerk. We're very flexible on that. But the reason for the advance is we need to know well in advance if there's going to be a street closure.
Okay.
Because we have to make sure that we staff appropriately, especially if it's in the evening or on the weekends when normally there wouldn't be anybody working. We have to schedule their work week where they come in maybe only Wednesday through Sunday instead of Monday through Friday kind of thing. If it needs law enforcement presence, depending on the kind of event, if it needs extra porta potties and restrooms, all those kinds of things. So it takes a lot of logistical planning.
Right.
You got people on vacations, you got holidays, all those kinds of things to plan out. So 60 days sounds like a lot, but when you're, taking employees and making sure everything is done the right way, it takes some time. But we are very flexible.
Right. Well, I guess, that kind of makes it sound much more reasonable when you're talking about, well, we're dealing with people's lives. We're talking about the staff, and we all know what it's like to have people ask you to do things at last minute. And you're
right.
like, I have this planned or I have this planned. So it kind of makes sense now.
Yeah.
And it might feel prohibitive to some smaller event organizers, but I guess there could be a very big knock-on effect with city employees, police department employees, if they have to suddenly change their schedule. So,
well, what I heard was ask.
Right.
I heard go to staff, tell them if
Yeah, Lisa Del Piccolo, our city
Yeah.
clerk, is great to work with.
Yeah.
John Sullivan
Yeah.
does a lot of that work as well for the logistics. And
So I guess
we're
if
really
you
flexible.
if you go in and say, okay, I know it's past the 60 days, but I don't need this, I don't need this, I don't need this, there might be some wiggle room. Fair to say? Okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I do feel
Did
like
they mention
I do
they've
feel
been-
like
has anybody been denied that you've heard from?
No, not denied.
I think
They're
it's
just worried about it.
I think it's a situation where people call and ask, and they get 60 days, and they go,
It's not enough.
it's not,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a little bit on both sides, right? Like he was talking about me having a conversation. I think we brought this up last time. Like, you feel like you have to know the questions to ask sometimes when you're in communication with city staff, and there's not as much like, hey, if I ask a question and that there's something that you could do to tell me to help me out in helping you. Sometimes maybe it doesn't seem like that happens. And so before you guys, city staff, because I know you watch this, before you send out like the hate mail this direction, I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here, all right?
I'll go back to one of our we have a meeting every week where we talk about those things and see if language on the permit application itself could show some flexibility. I can look at that.
Well, and of course,
Well, look at that. Look at what we're doing for the community already.
We're changing the world here.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do think that, the onus shouldn't be put on city staff to go
do your research,
to go above and beyond and do your research for you. So
right.
Yeah, there's a back and forth, but I think if there is some flexibility, if that's reflected in the language, then it might help a young entrepreneur or an event producer think, you know what, maybe I can do it now. Yeah. So
okay, so Montrose Dart just made an announcement on their Instagram page that I thought was fairly cool.
It's fairly cool. That question is now at the bottom of the list, but you're jumping around, but do carry on.
Yeah, well,
I'm going to move it. No, I'm going to move it. Go on.
Logistically, I can do what I want. Doesn't Rob always say he can do whatever he wants? And, and then he does something like, this is my show.
Come on.
All right. Well, so the Bullock Electric Steam Plant property. There's some new news with that.
Okay, well, explain what that is, because I did not know that's what it was called. So
I'll let you explain, because while we do this, I borrowed the aerial shot that I'm going to play so people can look at it while we're talking over it.
If you're on the the bike path, the river path down towards river bottom. It's on the other side of the river, next to Reclamel, right, pretty much. And it's that very tall, somewhat dilapidated structure that's been there for how long?
I don't know. It's been there for decades.
Yeah. Everyone will know it when
way
they
to
see
describe it is it's across Rio Grande from the high school,
right,
direct toward
Yeah.
the river. It's the tallest building
Yeah.
that we have, and it's
Everyone
an
will
old
know it.
industrial-looking building.
Yeah. And if you're from Montrose, if you grew up here as a teenager,
Well, we're looking at it now. You guys can't see,
Right.
but we're playing the aerial,
Right.
and
if you grew up in Montrose as a teenager, I'm sure you kind of found your way in there, perhaps when you maybe shouldn't have. But so that's the Bullock. What is it? The Bullock Electric Steam Plant. Do you want to?
Yeah. So you want to tell us about what
what's
the news
going on
was,
there?
what the announcement was?
I don't know what Dart announced. I haven't seen that.
So there was I think there was an application for a grant.
Oh, our cleanup grant through
Cleanup
the EPA.
grant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So see, you knew. I just
did.
didn't ask the
Just
right
know it
question.
went out today.
Yeah, exactly. So we purchased the Bullock Power Plant here several years ago. It was becoming an attractive nuisance, just as you mentioned. The roof wasn't existing. People were going in and out, transients, kids, whatever. A lot of nefarious activities. And so we were able to purchase that property, and then we took off the northern piece of the property and sold that to DMEA. They have a transformer area there, and we kept the southern portion. And for the last few years, we've been working with the EPA Brownfields program to plan it out and design it to get grant money to go in and do all the asbestos mitigation. And so we've applied for a $2 million grant that there's a team going over to Ray, Colorado to meet with the grant committee and see if we can get funded for that. And we're hoping, actually they're going over for another project, but we're having a meeting soon and having public input on the EPA grant portion to try to go in and do that asbestos mitigation. If it's more than $2 million, then the city will pay the difference. We've had many people approach us about that property for business development and different things. The schools talked to us about open fields with the new high school project. We've years ago did some renderings to turn it what it would look like if it was a climbing gym.
Okay.
For-profit climbing gym, like a rockin' and jammin' kind of place. We've talked and had drawings done. What if it was a brewery, kind of an industrial feel-looking brewery with seating outside and that kind of thing. So we have a lot of different options for the property, but right now the most important thing was to make it safe.
Right.
So we did a perimeter fence to keep people out of there, keep kids out of there, and right now it was probably the announcement about getting some public feedback and stuff related to the EPA grant.
Can we do like a rooftop, since you're looking at it right there? Can we do a rooftop like Top Golf? Can we do like, I could see us like having some, some sort of, what the insurance can't be that bad on that, right?
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's fine.
If you want to be the investor on that,
Right.
you can
Yeah.
talk to us.
No
about
problem. Money.
Yeah. Interesting. How long would it take to clean up when the funds are secured? How long is that project?
It's a couple of years, I think, once we get
Yeah.
the funding to do it.
And even then, it's safe to go in, but it's still, a dilapidated old steam plant. So it's going to take a couple
That's
of years
just for the
again.
asbestos mitigation. So then it's safe to go in.
Right.
And then somebody would need to come in, renovate it,
Yep.
build it to modern.
So-
The other idea is some people said we should just demolish it, get rid of it. But when you are a public entity and you demolish something, even private probably, you have to still do the asbestos and hazard mitigation. So,
Right.
So you're not any worse off abating the asbestos.
Right.
Right.
And then just so that we don't start off a whole nother set of questions about why you would do this investment into a building, then what happens after you do it? When you're saying there's some ideas for what could go in it, is that private investment coming in, and are they then like being tenants of a building that the city owns, or is the city's intention to improve it so that it could be sold and could be developed?
In any of the conversations we've had over the last 8-9 years about it, it would be the building itself would become private, and then we would maintain the river access, and that way people could do some tie-out areas, park their boats there. There's also a little building there that would be a great outdoor little bar, kind of with outdoor seating along the river. So we would want the river corridor itself, but private entity would run the building and stuff.
So
never
remain
entertained
public
us owning it.
access easement to the river but then have the building and the rest of the property be a private.
Correct.
Okay.
But there really is not a plan in the works right now on the commercial business. That was from years ago, just research that what could happen there.
But if you're looking
right
for
now
good
it's
business
just
ideas to come into Montrose,
But it could be as little
hey,
as
there's a
could
new
be-
building that could be on the.
Well,
It's
it
an
could be as little as 4 years to clean it up and get it developed. So in 4 short years, I think demolishing it would be crazy. Partly because I think it's kind of cool, and
It's pretty iconic. It would be cool if you haven't been in there. I've been in there. I'm pretty sure I was in there on like a
tour.
A tour. Yeah, we'll call it a tour. The what do you call it?
The turbine.
The turbine. Thank you. The turbine that's it's like in the center of the building. I mean, so if somebody could design and use that as an aspect of the building, it would be crazy cool because that thing was.
Yeah, there were some really
insane
cool
to look at.
renderings that we had the Main Street program architects do for us that kept all that intact. And you did climbing area over here and mini REI outlet over here and kind of brewery area, keeping all that old stuff intact.
Where are those renderings?
Is that somewhere where people can see it?
Can we get them from the city then somewhere?
Yeah, I'll email them to you.
That would be fantastic.
They're probably on our website and on their Dart, but
It'd be
under
awesome
the
if we could
archives.
link in this episode to those images if they were on the website.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, plus, the $2 million ideally, if the grant comes through, is coming from somewhere else. So it's not, because you mentioned investment.
Yeah.
This would be money from outside.
Yes.
So we'd be able to show somebody what could happen without really costing people in Montrose anything, or maybe just a little bit.
To bring something cool.
To
into
clean
the
it
area.
up and have something function. It wouldn't actually cost the taxpayers anything, or a very little amount.
Okay, so we're gonna
So that's
run.
a great
We're gonna run out of time.
Yeah,
again.
no, that's all right.
We're almost at time, but I want to. I'll do this one really quickly because I thought it was interesting. The intersection of 6700 and Sunnyside, that's where the new 6700 ran all the way through. Right. The question was, and I
Both
thought
John Paul's right there.
yes.
Yeah.
The question was, why did that intersection not get a roundabout? Uh-oh.
That is a good question. I'm
That's as close as we've come to flustering him.
Yes. I stumped him.
I'm
Got him.
trying to be Scott Murphy, our engineer here, and think of the reason for that.
Yeah.
My guess is it is slated for a roundabout, but years from now, because
Okay.
you have to meet the warrants traffic-wise.
Uh-huh.
But
Hold on, back up. Explain that, because that's probably the answer, right? Like,
so
what is warrants
So
for-
there's engineering traffic warrants where they go out and they do speed studies, they do volume studies, they do all those different things to show what's the actual use of the property, because you don't go in and just put a stop sign or a stop light or something just guessing that it's a great idea.
Right.
You actually have to go in and do the engineering studies to show that it's warranted through the standards that are kind of traffic standards across the country.
so
There's thought behind it.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
a lot of people on Facebook don't seem to think there's any thought that goes into anything sometimes.
well,
We have an amazing city engineer, Scott Murphy.
We're
who's
gonna get him
very
on.
well-versed
We're gonna
in
get
that.
him on.
He'd be great to have on.
Yeah.
so Blaine and the rest of our wonderful police force, you guys just hit mute for a second. Is that why that little sign is flashing at me all the time when I come down that way, like telling me what my speed is?
yeah, there's one on Main Street too.
But I'm saying that's reporting what the speed, like it's probably capturing what the
that
speeds
one's
are.
not actually capturing data. I don't.
Oh,
believe.
okay.
No, that's
That
to
one's-
stop Dennis
That's
speeding.
a deterrent,
Yeah.
and it actually
Okay.
works. I think
It
I've
does.
been driving on there.
Slows me down.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it, and then
Yeah.
you see it. Oh, I should slow
Well,
down a
the
little bit.
that one I don't think has it, but the one on Main Street even has the flashing red and blue lights. So from a distance, it looks like there's a police car there anyway.
Yeah.
But this brings me on to another topic
Here he goes.
of speeding, and I'll
Here
get
he
on
goes.
to Blaine with this. But 25 miles an hour, I think, is perfectly reasonable on Main Street. But it's incredible the number of people that speed down that street. I mean, it's not really a question for you, I don't suppose. It's just a rant. But
We talked about it last episode. I feel like you're just bringing it back
No,
because
no,
you
no.
haven't gotten
No, no.
satisfaction.
No.
That's 3 episodes now that you have brought
well,
up. You're
read the next
disdain.
question about Main and Townsend.
Well, you read it. You're looking at it right now.
Right. So it does feel like sometimes Main and Townsend, especially certain times of the day, it's like feels like an interstate sometimes. Like traffic is, we're growing as a town and that kind of thing. So the question from somebody on Facebook is there any effort to study the possibility of another bypass around town so that Main and Townsend doesn't feel like that?
I'm sure business owners would love that. But
Yeah.
So the only thing, but the only thing close to what you would consider a bypass would be a local bypass, and that is going from West Main area all the way down along the Rio Grande corridor. Right now, we've improved it to South 3rd Street, but that will go all the way down to Hobby Lobby or the new hospital center down by Hobby Lobby.
Okay.
So that'll be a parallel to Townsend, which will get a lot of that congestion off, and locals will most likely use that route.
Okay.
Rather than
so where
that will take on part of the bike path then, because the
bike path will be rerouted,
Right.
But it won't go away.
Okay.
And then there'll be some really nice. The new public works facility is going to be down there as well, which would be really nice, and then some trailhead area and that kind of thing.
Okay.
We just talked yesterday about some maybe public restrooms someday down in that area. We have restrooms up on the north end of the Connect Trail. We could put them down on the south end. That doesn't help Main and Townsend,
Right.
but it does offer less congestion along Townsend, hopefully.
Right.
As far as an overall bypass, there's a lot of different perspectives on bypasses, and you just mentioned one about businesses. Years ago, there was an idea of a eastern bypass that would run people from Highway 50 toward Black Canyon there, 550,
out and around us?
Out and around us through the adobes. Not really practical to build out in that area.
Yeah.
So then there was also an idea of starting north of town and heading west and then hooking up with Spring Creek. But that's very costly. The impact would be minimal. And you don't really want people to bypass your downtown.
No.
We have a beautiful downtown. We want people to come through downtown.
All right.
Unfortunately, Main and Townsend's the intersection of two highways.
Yeah. So Rob's real
Hang on. I got a follow-up. I just remembered.
Yeah.
2 years ago, maybe, I heard that there was a plan to do something to downtown Main Street in the same manner that maybe Grand Junction have, where the way their roads are like traffic calming, I suppose. Was there any truth to that? Is there any truth to that? Because I like Grand Junction, the way they've done it. It's, it's curvy.
Yeah, meanders.
Yeah.
So years ago, prior to me coming, they did the bulb outs downtown.
Okay.
The what?
The bulb outs at the corner, like by the post office.
Okay. Right.
They put in a lot of those medians. They put the bulb outs to slow traffic down.
Right.
So that was something that was done years ago. But long term, there is an idea about new streetscaping on Main Street that would widen the sidewalks. Because if you can double the width of those sidewalks, you can have outdoor seating at all the restaurants, and still have ADA passage. Because you got to have 4 feet to get through. We tried parklets, but they take up 3 parking stalls. People they never really took hold here. So widening sidewalks would be great for that kind of thing. That would also reduce it to 1 lane each way, which would slow traffic down.
Yeah.
We did some calming measures down by Coffee Trader and Horsefly, a bulb out area there a few years ago. So we are making kind of minor improvements.
Right.
An overall new streetscape of Main Street would be $20 million or more.
Right.
And so we're trying to do minor improvements as we go.
Okay.
We haven't really had a plan to do exactly what Grand Junction did and do a meandering one-ways and stuff. People don't really like one-ways. We did it on South 1st Street by the new police department.
Right.
My idea, I would really like us to close that entire area, but we heard from the business owners, please don't.
They don't want you to do that.
We want people to come in, so we compromised and did kind of a half and half.
So I know that we do a really good job of during the holidays and certain events during the time of the years. We put those, the flags up off the light poles and things like that. Can we get like a Rob at Play? Please slow down, Rob at Play on there somewhere, like, down the streets. He
thought that was going to be so much
funnier. Do you want
to
sponsor that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rob does. He does.
You thought that was going to be so much funnier.
I mean, it feels a little funny.
Oof.
Like, you're the one that
swing and a miss, I believe, is the term.
If I had applause on the buttons, I probably would push it right about now. I think this one works.
This guy was good.
Yeah, I think I was good.
Terrible.
I think everybody got that.
You're making a mockery of this whole thing.
Okay.
Well, once again,
I feel like we haven't answered any questions.
What do you mean? We have answered all kinds of questions.
All right.
You've answered. Yeah, I feel like we haven't flustered him again.
No. Well, I got him.
For like a split second.
Yeah. Well, you do better.
That's not me. It's you.
Okay.
You people out there. You're all chatty on Facebook. You've all got stuff to say.
So come with it, is what you're saying.
Bring it to us, and we'll. But I mean, there's questions and answers.
So, Bill, you got maybe like 3 minutes left. Is there anything that we didn't bring up that you want to make sure that the city puts out there? Is there any new projects? I mean, we just got a Dutch Brothers, right? So people are excited about that. Is there anything else that you can talk about that that's coming? Possibilities, new restaurant just
endless
open.
possibilities.
I mean, I got most of it right. Listen, this is free marketing. They'll be okay with it. So, what else is?
We've had some questions lately. Councilmember Ulibarri just asked at our council meeting about our restaurant tax and our sales tax showing a little bit downward trend, and wondering what happened with that. With hotel tax, we had the local Holiday Inn was under improvements, so they had less rooms available, and we had some people trying out the new Marriott. So as a reminder for everybody, money that is captured in the URA or Colorado Outdoors, like the new Marriott, Toasty, Trattoria de Sofia, that money stays in the URA for future projects for the rest of until 2042. So when you're looking at our sales and use tax report, which is on our website in our packets, it's available to everybody. If you see any of those minor dips, it's probably during that time for the refurbishment of Holiday Inn and or people trying out the new Marriott that would normally have gone somewhere else in town.
So that money
and then restaurants, we had Rio Bravo closed down.
Yep.
And now possibilities going in, or endless possibilities, will help that restaurant revenue come back up again. So that's just something I would mention that came up recently. People ask questions like
my favorite muffin closed, and now you'll have the urban hippie market that's going to be there as well. There's an episode that you guys can watch about that.
Daily Bread was another one, and then we're having 2 places come in.
We have one more question at the bottom that I put in that was off the screen here. So I'm going to read one final question. This person would love to know if there are any upcoming initiatives or projects that the city is working towards specifically for individuals with disabilities living in our community, or just generally regarding accessibility. So it's not a specific question, but are the city doing anything to help?
Maybe I can add on to that. Like, are there anything, we have so many great, you mentioned like some of the money that's going to be available for parks and places, is there any further like thoughts about like we could use the river access down there, like to think about for people with disabilities? Are there any other projects out there like that the city's thinking like, hey, how do we make this more accessible for everybody?
The biggest thing right now is just sidewalk improvements. A lot of our sidewalks in the downtown core are really old. And so in next year's budget, people will see more money, a few $100,000 more towards sidewalk improvements to try to make it easier for people in wheelchairs or just with walkers or just they're, having trouble walking. And so to make our downtown more accessible, we're doing more sidewalk improvements than ever before. A reminder, our water sports park was the inaugural voyage was the Winter Warrior campaign. That was built as an adaptive, accessible water sports park with the ramps that go in and stuff.
Yep.
And then our new playgrounds are all ADA accessible, and we tried to go above the bare minimum because bare minimum ADA is it's weak. You basically have to, you can get your wheelchair up to it. If you drag yourself from your wheelchair to the bottom platform of a playground, it's considered accessible.
Right.
Well, we didn't like that.
Right.
And so Buckley Park Playground, for example, the new one has better features than that. And the surfacing we put on our trails throughout the community, we try to make sure those are ADA accessible. If anybody has any ideas for us, they can reach out to our HR director, Terry Wilcox. Her contact info is on our website.
Okay.
And she is our ADA coordinator, and we always have projects coming throughout the year, and we'll go and do a one-off. So if somebody knows of a particular area that's not accessible, we will go in and do our best to fix that.
Maybe say, for example, and I don't know that this is the case or not, but like the tennis courts that are by the recreation center that's kind of middle of the town where the pool, are those gates that are there, are those wide enough for somebody that
I have no idea. That's school district property.
Okay. So see, I would have asked the wrong question.
Right.
But another thought, like along those lines, like single track, like, we have some really cool mountain biking trails and stuff like that here. Is that wide enough for somebody to use like a hand cranked, bike to be able to go do that? Or not?
I guess the answer is is like you said,
Ask.
if people out there have concerns or questions or suggestions, send them in, because and then that you'll get some kind of response, right?
Oh yeah, they can get hold of Terry. They can come in and talk to us at City Hall, and we'll go look at it right away. We take those really seriously. Any kind of accommodation requests are really important.
So, I mean, the comment at the end of that question was, that question was it would be great to highlight the work that the city have done in the past to complement the future. So there's a compliment on, the things that the city have done.
Right.
So,
and I think you touched on it, like the River Bottom Park and making some of those things happen. So, all right.
We had time. How long?
We're at time.
Time flies by.
It does. It goes fast.
Yeah.
Especially when Rob doesn't talk as much as, other people. So,
come on.
I'm having a great time. He's not.
I'm having a good time.
Usually he's picking on me, and so I just thought I'd try to flip the script a little bit.
I know, but people complain when I do that.
Yeah, I know.
They basically say, "Well, you two idiots, shut up."
I wanted some of that ire at me. Like,
literally,
you guys bring it on.
One of the comments was basically, "You two idiots, shut up and let other people talk."
Yeah, that's okay. Well,
get your own
what are
podcast.
they going to do?
Get your own podcast if you don't like it.
See, he's so angry. All right, make sure you like, subscribe, sign up for WKRP Montrose.com, 970-316-3162. Before we go, thanks
to Pomona again.
Pomona Brewery.
And you have another weird question that's you're going to segue into something going?
No, I don't have any other weird questions. No. I noticed that you rented a car recently, though.
So it's not a question; it's rather a statement.
Yeah, where did you rent that?
It was a brand new Subaru. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
I got it from.
It was a gorgeous forest green. That was nice.
Was it?
Yeah,
we're making this up as we go along.
Yeah,
we don't care either.
Where did you get it?
Well, I got it from rentalcarmontrose.com. Yeah.
.com.
Always Subarus, fantastic, good rates. I mean, those guys are great.
They are awesome.
Go and rent a Subaru and drive around Montrose.
All right. Listen, everybody, thank you for joining us. WKRP Montrose and Bill Bell, thank you for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We'll see you soon again. And hey, to other city staff, you're up. Right?
Yeah. You're on notice.
You're on notice. We've reached out to you. And to the audience, we're going to... this is just the time of year, right? So we're going to have a lot of serious content where we want to try to, spread some information and share some facts and help you out. But we do have some more entertainment coming soon.
Yeah.
We've got some music stuff coming, maybe some funner things.
Yeah.
In the
you have
future hopper.
A coffee. Oh no, that'll be out by then.
No, that's already
That was out. Yeah, I forgot.
That was a disaster.
Go back and watch the coffee one from a few weeks ago.
Yeah, the coffee was amazing.
Yeah.
The execution of making the coffee might have,
Yeah.
You should go watch.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot. You guys have a great day. We'll see you soon.